In this video, we're going to be taking a look at creating your own frame layers here inside Photoshop Elements. Now, without the Elements Designer Digital's Designer's Toolkit, we would have no way to create our own frame layers here inside Photoshop Elements. But we've added some different tools in the Designer's Toolkit that is going to enable you to do that with just a click of a mouse. Now, if you've never worked with frame layers, they are an amazing function here inside Photoshop Elements. So let's start with showing you some of the frames that come with Photoshop Elements. So what I've done here is I've gone into my Content tab and I've limited my selections to frames. And these are all of the frames, and there's a bunch of different frames that come with Photoshop Elements. There's a whole slew of them. But let's just drag over a frame and see what is all about frames. Well, one of the nice things about working with frames is that we can simply drag and drop our image into a photo frame, and the image is automatically going to resize to fit that frame, as you can see there. The other neat thing, if I drag over a different frame here, I'm going to just make this a little bit bigger, and I'm actually going to rotate the frame a little bit. Let's just drag this out. And now if I drop in an image, the image will actually rotate to the same angle. You see that there. The image is actually rotated to the same angle as my frame. So that's kind of a cool thing too. It just automatically takes on that same property as my frame. Another neat thing about frames is that if I change the aspect ratio of the frame, the aspect ratio of the image doesn't change with it. So watch. I'm just going to change the aspect ratio of this frame to be more square shape, and the image within maintains its original aspect ratio. So that's kind of an interesting thing too. Another neat thing about frames, we'll just pull over another frame here and drag in a different image. You can see we have two different size frames, and I can just double click on an image and drag and drop it from one frame to another, and Photoshop Elements will just flip-flop the two and automatically resize the two images. So working with frames is just a brilliant feature here inside Photoshop Elements. So let's go over to our Effects tab, where we're going to find all the tools here in the Elements Designer Digital Designer's Toolkit. And you see right here, when I come over to Photo Effects, and I have the Elements Designer Digital, these are all the different tools that you'll find in the Designer's Toolkit. So right down here we have the Create Frame layer and the Selection to Frame layer. And they both work very similarly. So for example, I can just make a simple rectangular shape, choose the Create Frame layer option, and then I can drag and drop my image into that newly created frame. And just like the frames that come with Photoshop Elements, you see my image is automatically scaled, and if I change the aspect ratio of the frame, the image within just moves right along with it. Pretty cool stuff, maintaining its own aspect ratio. If I go in and I'll drag out another rectangle, do another create to frame, drag in my image again, and just like with the frames that come inside Photoshop Elements, if I drag and drop between two frames, it'll automatically flip-flop the two images. So a really neat function to add to Photoshop Elements. So any type of shape that we create can become a frame. So let's do a rounded rectangle. Let's do a couple others. Let's do an elliptical selection. Nice little round selection. Let's use our custom shape tool and choose one of the different shapes that come. Now all these shapes come inside Photoshop Elements. So we'll just go ahead and just grab one that's kind of interesting. Maybe we'll grab this one right here. And let's make some frame layers. So create frame layer. And let's try and drag and drop an image into it. Boom. Really cool, right? And create frame layer. And let's drag and drop an image into it. And then let's go ahead and add one more image into the last frame. I'll see I didn't convert that into a frame layer. So all we have to do is let's undo that last step. And let's click on our box here, create frame layer, and then I can drag and drop my image into it. There we go. So really cool, useful function that we've now added. Now, we can get really crafty and create all kinds of different shapes. So for example, if I were to draw out a circular shape here, and then I'm going to subtract from this existing shape. I'm just using different functions here inside Photoshop Elements to do this. So you can see now I've created kind of an interesting shape. So if I convert to a frame layer and then drag and drop my image into it, you get all kinds of different shapes. So now we can also convert any selection into a frame layer as well. So I'm going to go over here and grab my elliptical marquee selection tool. I have a feathering of 150 set. So now I'm going to use the selection to frame layer and drag and drop an image. And now you can see, because I use that feathering option, I have a nice soft edged image opening. And so that's all there is to it. So any type of selection that I make can become a frame layer. In fact, I could even make text a frame layer. So let me just type in a word here. And let's just resize this word. And so I could just choose the create frame layer option. And then any image that I drop in here will now fill all the different letters of the word senior. So let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. So you can see it can kind of create an interesting effect and create all kinds of different things. So a lot of fun playing with frame layers. And so remember, any template that you may have already created for yourself, any layered Photoshop file, any individual image opening can be converted into a frame layer. Any layer or any selection that's on its own layer can also become a frame layer. So we have unlimited opportunities when it comes to working with frame layers. So we have lots more videos that show you all kinds of different layouts, techniques using frame layers that I think you're really going to enjoy. So definitely check it all out. Thanks for watching.